Hey everybody, I'm Matt Pikesman from Pembridge High School. I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about the parts of our guitars that are stem guitars or the same ones we make here at Pembridge High School. These guitars are based on a Fender Telecaster. So you might know the name Fender, you might know the name Telecaster, or you might know the name Stratocaster. Fender Stratocasters are similar to a Fender Telecaster, but not the basis of what we're doing here. The biggest difference between the two is the number of pickups, and we'll get to that. So if we start up here at the top of the guitar, we have the headstock, which when you get your pre-made cutout neck from stem guitar, it's a paddle head is what we call it. So you design the shape of the headstock. Also up here we have tuning machines, or tuners you might call them. And we take our strings and we wrap them around these tuning machines, and that helps keep the guitar in tune. Keeps the guitar strings under tension. This guitar doesn't have one, but this one next to me has another part that we can talk about, and that's called a string tree, or in this case, a string bar. And what this does is it creates a break angle for the strings. So the strings are coming off of this white part called the nut, which we'll get to, and then they are breaking downward because of this string tree, or in this case, a string bar. If you have an angled headstock, like most acoustic guitars have, you don't need one of these. So not every guitar has string trees or a breaker bar. But in this case, because everything's flat, we need to have that. So I'll just keep holding this one for now. We talked about the nut. A lot of times these are ivory or graphite. The ones we have are plastic, which is fine. And what the nut does is, this is where a guitar string will stop vibrating. So if you ever hear the word scale length as it relates to a guitar, that means how far the guitar string vibrates. So in this case, our scale length, based on Fender again, a Telecaster, 25.5 inches. It's going to vibrate from here down to here, which we'll get to this part down here in a minute. So that's what the nut does. It helps hold the strings in place, but also it holds them from vibrating. The guitar strings themselves are for an electric guitar. So they are metal, because they can't be nylon, or they won't work on an electric guitar. As we move our way down the neck, we have the neck itself, which in this case is made out of maple. That's what you find on most electric guitars. But we have the fretboard, which is a different kind of wood. It can be maple. In this case, it's different. And embedded inside of the fretboard are frets that has a shape to it that's rounded. And then the ends we file so that they're not sharp. And what happens is when I hold down on a fret, it changes the vibrating length of the string. So if you do open tuning, which means just plucking it, it's vibrating between the nut and the saddle. If I hold down on a fret wire and strum it, now it's vibrating between there and the saddle. As I keep moving my way down, we have pickups. So this is the major difference between a Stratocaster and what we're doing. These are two pickups, and these are humbuckers. Stratocasters have 3 single coil pickups, so that's the major difference. True Telecasters might have a humbucker down here, but could also have a single coil here, but then they also have a single coil up here called a lipstick pickup. So slight difference between what we do in a true Telecaster. Now we move down here. This whole assembly here is called the bridge. Within the bridge is a saddle. And in this case, there's 6 individual saddles. So again, this saddle is part of the nut and the scale length idea of where the string vibrates. What's also nice about these, besides that there are 6 individual ones, is I can move them in and out, and I can also raise and lower them, which helps you with the string action. String action is how high the string is from the fretboard. Down here I have 2 knobs and I have a switch. Let's talk about the switch. The switch is a 3-way selector switch, so it has 3 positions: 1, middle, and back. Middle means both these pickups are powered or will produce sound. If I push one way, one of these is going to be on and the other one won't. And when I go the other way, the other one will be on and the other one will be off. Then I have a volume knob, which we usually put here in the front, which just makes the guitar louder or softer, instead of you having to do it on your amp. Amps, of course, have volume as well. And then the other one is a tone and makes different sounds. Within the neck, sometimes accessed up here, sometimes accessed down here, is what we call a truss rod. So it's a metal rod inside the neck, which helps the neck, because the neck is wood and it's getting tension on it. So if we talk about some math and science, the fact that you're pulling this piece of wood with the tension of the strings, so how do we counteract that? With the metal bar, the truss rod inside the neck. It can also help you bend the neck one way or another on purpose. So not only can it counteract the effect that the strings have, but it can also bend it a certain way if you want it to. If we look at the back, we have our electronics pocket cover. So inside of here are all your electronics. So if we go back to this guitar, that one's missing the pocket. So you can see what it looks like in there. Typically you don't want this. That would not be good for that to be exposed. So we have our cover. These here are called string ferrules. They're little metal pockets that help the ball end of the string. So again, when you think about the tension on that string, if it was just sitting against wood, it would eventually move the wood. So these are little metal pockets. Our neck plate, again, the amount of tension and force you're putting on screws here, this helps disperse that pressure among the 4 of them, and those screws go into the neck. So this is how, if you've ever heard Fender's bolt-on neck, this is what they're talking about, even though they're screws. Down here, we have for our guitar strap. So most guitars will have a strap button down here. Sometimes you won't have one up here. Typically electric guitars have 2, but sometimes you see guitar straps that tie onto the neck of the guitar. Here we have our output jack and our jack plate. So how do we get all that stuff that's in here making the guitar have sound? Through your output jack. Let's see, the only other things I can think of is in the body itself. We contour the body here, called an armrest, so that it's not square, it wouldn't be comfortable. And then this is called a belly cut or belly relief or gut cut for when you're playing up against your stomach or your gut, that it doesn't hurt. You can see this shape here in the middle works really well if you're sitting on a stool, and it makes it comfortable. And that relief on the inside, I put my arm here, and it's pretty comfortable to sit here and hold the guitar and play it. I believe that's all the parts we have. So again, the stem guitar, Pembridge guitars that we're making is based on a Fender Telecaster. Has some differences, but the basic layout and where things go is based on that. What can we change? We can change the shape. We cannot change where the neck fits in, where the pickups go, or where the string ends here at the bridge. We can't change that. That changes the guitar in totally different ways. But can you change the shape? Absolutely. Can you change how you finish it with paint or swirl dip or spray paint or oil, whatever? Absolutely. All right? So there's the parts of our electric guitars.